Let me fix my lighting really quickly.
Take your time.
There we go.
Hello, welcome. Warhammer 40k lore.
Okay.
Oh, I'm muted. That's why.
So I'm getting no
Hello,
audio.
I'm here. Sorry. Welcome.
Welcome. I'm so excited. This is so cool.
Oh, I'm so excited. Warhammer 40k. Whenever you're ready. Lore.
All right. Cool. So I took a couple notes. Um, but so basically Warhammer 40K and Warhammer in general is this large, started off as wargaming, so like D&D, like painting lots of miniatures, and then you'd have like you put them together. The kits are exorbitantly expensive. It's why I never got into the wargaming part. And you know, basically put them out on battlefields, and you have your army of like 200 little painted aliens and space marines fight each other.
Oh
What
my.
made it?
Sorry, that's
It's
sick. Keep
it's
going.
so fucking cool. Cool. I originally got into it because I went to a local comic book store with my dad when I was like 8, and they had like a demo day where they're like showing off the stuff, and everyone had their terrains and little armies out. My dad was like, "Hey, this is kind of cool. Let's try it out." And one of the kits was like $40 for like 5 little figures, and he was like, "All right, never mind." But like he got me the rule book for it. I don't have the exact one, but it looked like this.
Ooh.
Um, this is from the same edition of the game. I think I found this at a used bookstore, and that was my only understanding of Warhammer. Is I read the codex like rule book that's written partially in universe with all of this lore. I read it front to back like hundreds of times. Um, but basically, the whole thing is that what makes it different than other wargaming stuff is that it has this really rich and like absolutely fucking absurd and like just ridiculous setting, which is it's set 40,000 years in the future, hence 40K. And
Whoa. Okay. Okay.
um, it's like objectively like the worst possible timeline for humanity, um, where basically all sense of progress and like technological advancement and like any sort of sense of like yeah just like expanding our horizons in the stars is just gone. Like humanity is run by an emperor who is dead, like kept alive after being sacrificed. It's just like the most grim, dark, stupid shit possible. They include this little description, like this little page in like fluff piece at the beginning of each of their books, because they have books too. They have like a publishing arm. And one of the things that's just so nuts is like they have this little thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's just like describing how fucked up the world is. It's basically just like what is it? To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It's to live in the cruelest and the most bloody regime possible. These are the tales of such times. Forget the power of technology of science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods. It's some shit.
Are there gods?
There are gods. There's lots of gods.
Oh my god.
The thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is like one of the goofiest things in it, is orcs in this. Because of course, like there's orcs. Basically, it's like humanity is beset by aliens at all turns, and heretics and demons. And if you think impure thoughts, you can cause a demon to appear in order to fuck up your whole day and your whole life.
That's true of real life.
Yeah, it is. They weren't wrong about that part. There's and now it's this massive franchise. Like, it's like one of, if not the most valuable companies in the UK. Because of the pandemic, caused their valuation to blow way up. Um,
Oh.
yeah, video games. They're trying to make a movie, like a live action movie. They're trying, like, they have their own streaming service now called Warhammer Plus, where they make animated like shows about Warhammer.
Oh my god.
It's really nuts. But one of my favorite things in the universe is orcs. They have space orcs because of course they do. There's space elves and there's space, blah 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 blah. There's like a companion that's completely unrelated, that's just Warhammer Fantasy, which is just the same thing but in fantasy form. And the 40K one's all sci-fi grimdark shit, but the orcs are nuts because they're simultaneously like, yeah, what if you put orcs in space, and also just like the most like batshit crazy thing imaginable. It's just like they feel so distinct from other kinds of orcs and other, like Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, where it's like they're dumb. Like they're still really dumb in Warhammer. They're still racialized in Warhammer like they are in most other forms of media. They still talk in a Cockney accent for some reason, which is also just fascinating. But the orcs in this world are like, um, what's it called? They're basically driven. One, they're not really like a humanoid species. I guess they are, but they're a fungus in this lore.
Oh.
Like they just basically like are able to reproduce asexually through just like spreading spores around, and then these spores grow into what become orcs. And the way that the orcs become like strong or sustain themselves or like, basically find nutrients or whatever isn't through eating things, it's through killing things and thinking that they're strong. So that makes them bigger and that also makes them smarter. It's some of the most batshit shit I've ever seen, where it's just
That's
like if you think you're smart, you become this like massive, large like creature that then like rules over others.
but they're dumb.
But they're dumb. Like they're still dumb, like baseline. But you become smarter than others, and then you become like an orc war chief, or I forget whatever they're called. Um, and there's whole like caste system of orcs, but they're all basically just a fungus that talks in a Cockney accent. Um,
Cockney
and their
fungus.
whole aesthetic and design is basically just like slapping together like everyone like other races will have like cool spaceships that look like giant floating castles, or they'll be like just like weird, yeah, things that look like Egyptian pyramids. And then the orcs are just like, we have a rock and we put some rockets on it, and then we're just going to launch it out there. And people are obsessed with this stuff, me included.
Yeah.
Although
Of course
it's
they
like been,
are.
of course they are. Like, how could they not be? Um, I know I said I was going to start this talking about the orcs, but it's just like, I guess I could just talk about Warhammer in general, because it's just like some of the strangest thing, like having like talked about it with a few friends who have absolutely no idea what I'm saying and have like zero reference. It's just like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's so fascinating because it's just like I feel like there are a few things that are like it, in terms of it, because it's been around since the 80s.
That's
And
so. I have never heard of this in my entire life.
right, I feel like, and like most times when people encounter it, like they see it's grimdark, there's space marines, also fascists love it,
Fascists love
unsurprisingly.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a whole god emperor. The thing that started off is that it was like, oh, this is like during like Thatcherism in the UK, and like this like massive rightward shift. And part of like what the game originally was doing, and the kind of creators and people who were making this lore in this world were just like, yeah, okay, there's like a fascist theocracy in space, and they're like, yeah, we're the best. Like the only human option is to like play these assholes. And since then, because it's become their brand, they've kind of had to lean into like all the satire is gone, and especially for fans, where it's like, oh, people are like, oh, Trump is the god emperor, like kind of missing the whole thing is just like, oh, Trump's the god emperor, or like, actually it's right because they're talking about exterminating all other races. Like we should just buy into this. So like Fash people love Warhammer for that reason, and they just kind of miss the satire part, and in part the satire is taken a step back because they're like, oh, we can just be profitable, like selling
Oh
this
my god.
millions of base. It's that is like just into it objectively.
And now they have a streaming service.
They do. It's nuts. It's which has caused a ton of drama in the community, I guess. I've only kept a few tabs on this, but from what I understand, it seemed like basically a bunch of people like make fan creations. They're a notoriously litigious company. I'm wearing a bolt thrower shirt. This death metal band. I wanted to put this on for this. This is one of my most prized possessions. They're a death metal band from England who originally kind of had a sponsorship deal partnership with Games Workshop, this company that makes Warhammer, to be like, yeah, we'll make your album art. Like it looks metal as hell. That's super cool. And then they changed their minds later on and were like, no, actually, we're going to sue you if you keep using this.
Oh my god.
So they're super litigious. And I guess there's all this drama now because people make fan videos and fan creations. But now that they have this streaming service, the company is being like, actually, we're going to change our minds and say, if you, I only noticed this because it was on r/subreddit drama.
Hell yeah.
Was someone being like, or the company being like, hey, we're actually going to say you can't make your own fan videos anymore. You can only do official stuff. And nerds are freaking out.
As they should be, god damn it. It's from the 80s.
It sucks. Like it really sucks. It's especially for this like gigantic corporation that's so valuable and really expensive. Like I don't do the wargaming stuff. I just like to read the books and go on the Wikipedia pages.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, so you're kind of, you don't do the actual gaming, but
No, it's really intimidating. Honestly, I don't
expensive.
understand the rules and so expensive. But the thing that's neat about it, and I think how most people get into it, is that they will like, hear about it. They'll watch a YouTube video. One of my favorite YouTube like Warhammer YouTubers is this guy, Oculus Imperia, who just goofy shit. He talks like in universe as this like, I don't know, like historian talking about history of Warhammer 40K. And I listen to it to fall asleep sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's video games. Yeah.
I love this. So there's like, so he talks about it in games. So there's people who have just sort of all this content that they make for within the universe. So you could just
Right.
kind of just pay attention to just this if you wanted to.
Right, exactly. You could jump in wherever. Like for the most part, I just like, would read the books, that sort of thing. Which is basically like stories taking place in this world. And because it's been around for so long, like I know we're almost out of time.
No, you came
but
in a little late, so I'll give you a couple minutes. Abby can wait.
this is this one anecdote that I thought was so funny, which is I went to a horror convention a couple years ago, and they had a panel that was about Warhammer and like cosmic horror and Warhammer. And I was like, oh, this is two overlapping interests that I never thought would see the light of day. Hell yeah! And the woman who was running the panel is this author I really like, Molly Tanzer, and she was like, yeah, I don't know shit about this. Like I played a role-playing game about this once, but like they put me on this. I think it'll be entertaining. And it was, but one of the things that came up was like this author who was on the panel was asked, like was talking about his experience, like getting pitched to write for like a horror anthology they did, like set in universe, like space horror. And he was like, yeah, like I'm kind of familiar with the world and the lore a little bit. Like I know the in-universe lingo. I played a little bit when I was like in my 20s. And then, so he emailed the guy and was like, who had like kind of reached out to him, like, hey, you want to write for our anthology? And he was like, yeah, sure. Like, that sounds great. Like I feel like I've got some, lingo or anything. Are there any sort of like rules or whatever I should keep aware of? Or is it just like free reign? I'd like to just have free reign to tell my story. And the person who wrote back, who I guess is one of an entire department whose job it is to make sure that the lore stays canon in the universe, is basically sent this author like a 75-page PDF and was like, here, this is a good primer. This should help you out getting started. Try to keep within the confines of this. And if you want to have any questions, let me know.
Oh my god.
It's nerd shit. It's really wild.
Oh my god, that's like so sick. But it's also, so many things are like that, where it really starts with like one thing that everyone thinks is cool, and then it's like, well, now there's 60,000 fucking versions of this, and like,
Right, right. Yeah. And now we all have to like adhere to a line because it's profitable or because a certain subset of nerds really want it this way.
Yeah.
It's a real trip. I didn't even get to the juicy stuff. Like there's an elf BDSM god. Um, there's some crazy shit in this. Maybe next week. Who knows?
Yeah, come on. I would love to continue this conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Oh
get
yeah.
Abby in here to play some chess. Thank you so much. Holy shit. New world. New Google search.
The whole world. Absolutely. Thank you, Liz. This was
Thank
lovely.
you. You can log out of the Zoom whenever you're ready, and God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.